Holy cow. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I was muted the whole time. Let's try that again. I'll cut that out when I put it on the podcast section. But good morning, guys. Welcome to Hoosier Morning After. Thanks for being with me. Just a frustrating game last night or yesterday afternoon and a frustrating start to this podcast. Sorry about that, guys, being muted. But Indiana loses yesterday by 1 point, 84-83 to put the record at 10-5 on the season, 1-3 in the Big Ten. We just kind of reached that point of the season where we kind of battle with ourselves and we battle with how we are feeling with this team and how we feel about the rest of the season. This was a team that we went in excited for because installed last year was a good foundation, was that foundation of defense. And that was what we were going to hang our hat on. And can we find that shooting? Can we find that 3-point shooting and that offensive fire to go with a great defense that we already had? And now we flip-flopped on ourselves. We found some of that offense. Again, there's still a lot of wrinkles in that offense. And we've found good 3-point shooting. Again, some wrinkles in that. The volume needs to go up on those 3-point shooting. But we are lacking on the defense again. Where's the defense? What's happened to the defense? It's frustrating. It's very frustrating to figure out. And this is a game to where if you take a aerial view, if you just bring up the generic stats you can on ESPN, you don't start looking closer, you would think that this was a game where Indiana was battling back and forth, and it just happened that Northwestern maybe made a shot at the end or something like that with that 1-point loss. Seeing that Jalen Hood-Schifino scores 33 points, Trace Jackson-Davis gets 18 points, little points sprinkled in here and there from other guys. And you would think that, it was a decent back and forth game. But those of us that sat down and suffered through know that's not the case. And there's many things that need to be addressed with this team moving forward. And it's nothing that I think it's nothing that can't be corrected. And it's nothing that the team can't get over. From my macro view or my outside view, not being a part of things, obviously, or being in there, but just as a fan's point of view, where I see a lot of those changes needing to happening is from the coaching staff. And the coaches need to figure out how to put these guys in better situations, how to prepare these guys mentally to start these games a lot better and communicate on defense, do the things that they need to do to achieve. And it's scary to think that when you see some of the talk in the post game, you see Coach was asked about the defense and the struggles. And what does he point to is that he's got 2 guys that are out. Yeah, that can be part of it, Coach, but you got to move on from that. And you've got to then address what is the situation with the guys that you currently have. And we've got to figure out those things, the substitution patterns. I know obviously a lot of us have been discussing and yelling at on Twitter that we need to go small. Small ball is the way to go. And when we started to do that, it got better. The sound, the play was better. It's very tough to try to let your all-star do what he needs to do when the lane is crowded like it is. And I like Jordan. We all love him for what he brings, for what he has, and for the potential that he has as a player, but he has struggled recently. And he is a better served player coming off the bench, getting these little spotty minutes here and there, and being that injection into this team. And starter minutes are not necessarily for him. When you look at the stats, he finished with the worst plus minus on the team at -16. And it's just, a weird situation to be in because you like that energy and that effort that he brings, but the little mental mistakes are just too much to overcome. And we need to push past that sooner with this team. Now, that's enough negative. Let me do a little negative, positive, negative sandwich here. Let me switch to at least some positives with this in this game, and that it has to be Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's a player that kind of struggled a little bit for us in the beginning of December. Obviously, he was out for a little bit with injuries and everything, but then comes in today and just has an all-star type of game. 33 points, a career high for him. 12 for 17 from the field, 5 for 7, 4 for 6 free throws. Finishes with 6 turnovers. That's a little bit of a disappointment. I'll bring back around to that when I get back to the negative side. But great effort from him, and awesome to see those shot making skills that he brings to this team. Great to see the plays that he can get for us, that he can create for us, create his own shot. My biggest beef with him is I want to see him create for the other players. I want to see him create things to get Miller Kopp open for 3. Does that tuck back to the coaching staff where they need to actually run some more plays for him, call him out to do that kind of stuff? Maybe. But as the leading point guard and stuff too, run some yourself as well to get him those situations, because he's just sitting over there on the wing. Miller Kopp is ready to receive the ball and shoot at any point. Run something that gets it over to him either there, or call a play that runs some action and gets to him. Because currently what we're looking at is either Hood-Schifino looking to drive and kick himself, him dumping down to Trace Jackson Davis, and then playing a little bit of a two-man game. But that's what we currently are, is a very one-dimensional, or two-dimensional, I should say, team with Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino. And Jackson Davis obviously being another bright part of this game, finishing with 18 points, just very shy, 24 rebounds, which is freaking monstrous, and 8 assists, 2 away from his second triple-double of the year. I hate to say it, it's maybe bad to say, but I'm happy he didn't get a triple-double. I would hate for him to get a triple-double on a loss. It would kind of be a sour triple-double in that sense. But love to see his effort, love to seeing him out there. I was concerned as to what we would get, because after the Iowa game, we know how sore he looked from his back, how much he struggled. And I think this was not a game that I wanted to see him playing 40 minutes, because he played 40 minutes. He played every single minute. We did not spell him at all in this game. We need to. That concerns me about his health in the future if he has a back issue. A back issue is something that's going to keep getting aggravated, keep rearing its ugly head at inopportune times this season. So we need to give him the time. If the 4-minute timeout's coming out, if these TV timeouts are coming up, get Logan Duncombe in there. Logan's been okay. Logan has been fine. He can spell us for a minute or two before that timeout to just get Trace Jackson Davis that little bit more of a rest. We need to get his minutes down closer to 35, 37 tops. Just spell him for a little bit. Give that poor man and his back a break. Now, I would say the other really bright spot that we saw in this team, in this game, where we struggled to find someone that was going to get things going for this team, who was going to be that spark. And that spark was a freshman, CJ Gunn. He continues to impress for this team and what he did. And the defense, I think more so on the defensive side, when he came in, he was aggressive. He was a lot more aggressive than the IU players. The rest of the IU players were, and it rubbed off, because at the end of the first half, we started to battle back and we started to play a little bit stronger defense against them. And while he didn't finish on the stat line looking all that great with one made basket from 5 attempts, 0 for 2 from 3. You at least had that spark of energy out of him. The very reminiscent, I would say, to what Trey Galloway has done in the past 2 years for this IU team, being that player that would come in and bring that injection of energy and that extra little boost that's needed. He only finished getting 15 minutes, didn't play too much in the second half, kind of struggled in the second half when he was in there for a few minutes, but he's a player where moving forward, if this is kind of the trajectory and the problems that are going to plague this team, that needs to get more minutes. So we are thinking about the future. We always have to have at least a little bit of our mind and our minutes thinking about the future of this program. I know Here and Now has plenty of stuff to get over, but we got to think about preparing him and others to play a bigger role. And he's going to be one that's going to play a bigger role for IU next year and the future. So that's at least exciting. That's good to see that you got a kid and a firecracker like that can come off the bench and do things for IU. On to some stats. Obviously, the biggest, ugliest stat of this game is the turnovers. IU finishes with 16 turnovers. And the biggest stat leading with that is IU gets only 6 points in their turnovers that they forced on Northwestern. And Northwestern, got to 25 points off of that. Right there's the game for y'all. Now, I know some of those turnovers are from steals that Northwestern had. Let me see real quick while I bring it up. Northwestern finished with 14 steals, so quite a bit of steals on their side. Now, a lot of those steals were good from them picking the lanes, passing lanes and things like that, but some of them were on just bad dribble handoffs. And I think overall, to me, if you had to kind of pinpoint one thing that caused Indiana to lose this game, was just that lack of focus. That last kind of little click of the switch. I'm not going to say the H word that coach always says, but that last little click of focus that this team needed to have to take care of the ball better, to play a little more aggressive on defense, to just do those things that you need to do to pull out games like this, the team didn't have. And there was plenty of offense. Again, there was plenty of offense from this team to take care of things. Just lacked that discipline as far as turnovers, passes, bad handoffs, and then bad communication on the defensive end. Indiana, there was twice Miller Kopp defensively got beat where him and Tabar Bates switched on their players in the first half, and Tamar's player continued on to the wing, which Miller Kopp should have followed with him, but yet he got bogged up around the free throw line with, I think, 2 other Hoosiers, Tamar and whoever was playing the 4 at that point in that screening action, which led to a kick over to that wide open 3-point shot. Both threes were made. There is 6 points right there in the game that was missed on a lack of focus, lack of communication. Another point, if you want to talk about now points of spots where IU had chances and brought it in, was around the 8-minute mark. It was an 8-point game. Indiana was already in the double bonus, I think, or bonus. Both teams were in the bonus at this point. I'll talk about that in a second. And we had the front end. We missed the front end of a 1-and-1. Tamar Bates at the line, a great free throw shooter. Lacked the focus to relax and do what he does and hit those shots. You make those 2, you're down by 6. And yet Northwestern goes to the other end, scores, IU has another bad possession, goes back, they score again, and suddenly it's a 12-point game instead of a 6-point game. So it's that focus that is lacking from this team now. That's on the players, that's on the coaching staff. The early starts, players tend to struggle with that. That's not an excuse. but we just have to find that focus, and we have to click in defense and do what we need to do. Now, again, one positive, I guess I will compliment, I will give to this team or to this coaching staff would be they did at least adjust in some way on defense by going to the zone. The zone is so foreign and so weird for me. Not foreign, I should say, but just so weird for me to see Indiana in a zone. You don't very often see Indiana running a zone. If you look through the years, I'd be curious to see what the stats are on that. And obviously, nothing you'd be keep track of, but someone's got knowledge of that somewhere in the fan base. But it worked to a degree. In the minimal times that we went to it, it threw off Northwestern and got a few stops for us. So I will at least applaud that. But we maybe needed to try it a little bit more just to mix things up. And maybe that's something that the coaching staff will see at the tape and we'll go do and work on. And when we come back in the next, it'll get better. So it's very interesting. And you guys are kind of arguing it in chat, and I agree. And someone even asked earlier on for me to kind of address the situation of the reactionary fans that are saying Mike Woodson isn't the answer. That's it's a loaded question. And I seem to, there's so much time left in this season. There's so much time left in this season, and there's so much chance for this team to turn it around and to find something. I know when you're in the midst of a slide like we have, and we see the effort and we see what's going on the court, you tend to get down on yourselves and everyone in general. But I'm one that always stays optimistic, and I'm going to stay hopeful with it. And I'm going to think that Woodson can overcome it. He can learn himself. I seem to think he's got a good support staff around him that is talking to him and hopefully giving him some of those words, and he can't be stubborn in his ways. When we kind of think about how we are traumatized as a fan base with our coaches, is that's kind of where it's been. Is we've had these coaches that have been very stubborn in their ways. Archie was very stubborn in his ways. To a degree, Tom Crean was as well. And Woodson appears to be. Now, is this just a situation? There's some debate to be had. Is this the situation where it's just a case of Mike Woodson needs to, I hate to say this trope, but get his guys. And his style, his freedom on offense, the things he wants to play and run is an NBA type of style. It is a style that is going to lend to a team that is a lot more athletic and skilled overall. So is that an excuse to give him the time to get his players, to get more players that fit that style in there? Maybe it is. Maybe it's just that we still are on a bit of an Archie hangover with this squad and these players. That doesn't mean in any regards that I don't love these players and love this team that we currently have. But it is frustrating to see a coach that is being stubborn with that and not wanting to adjust to those situations, and let's take care of what we have now and what's in the practice room for you. So yeah, again, I'm not a headhunter yet. We are a mess of a fan base. If in year 2 at this situation, early in the season that we are, early-ish, I should say, in the season that we are, if we're calling for his head already. And I don't think I don't think there's anywhere of a majority that is calling for head. There's that kind of loud minority that always wants to grump and everything like that, and we look for somewhere to blame, and that's how we do, and that's what we do as fans, and that's what any fan base does. When things aren't going right, we look for the scapegoat, and who are we going to blame for what we are and what's going on. So yeah, not to sound Debbie Downer in all that situations, but again, the forever maybe optimist that I am, I think that this team can turn it around. This team can do things better, and they have the weapons. I think things just need to be run a little bit more on offense to get other guys some looks. And I think we just need to ratchet up the aggression on the defensive side that we know we have and we had last year. Our on-ball situation has been tough, and we need to be tougher. We need to be tougher as a team overall, and that's not that toughness and effort are, in my eyes, two different things. You can go out there and you can give effort, but if you're not tough with your effort, you're not up in the face of your player when you're on defense. You're not. Yeah, you're kind of throwing the effort, but it's a little bit lackadaisical. And that's it. I mean, if Jen just said in the chat, if they play defense, they will win games. And that is the case in this game. If we had played a little bit better defense, despite the turnovers, despite that, which again, Northwestern is a good defensive team. Northwestern is a top 10 defense right now in the country, according to Ken Pom. And this was probably the hardest defense we've faced so far this year. Not too far off removed from Rutgers, what we saw out of Rutgers, because Rutgers was just aggressive and good on defense as well. So that can argue away maybe a little bit of things. But we had a chance at this. And we made a fluke of a full court shot at the end to make it look even closer and everything than it was. So this is not emergency time. This is not scared time. This is not abandoned time. Also in this telecast, this is not time at the 3-minute mark for the stadium to need to clear out like it was. We need to stay tough for this team. Some adjustments need to be made by the coaching staff, and we can move forward from this, and we can come out of this a better team. And I'm still going to be here, rooting for this team, taking my psychological medications at a higher dosage from here on out. But it is going to be a roller coaster this year, guys. It is going to be a struggle. It is going to be a fight. And this team needs to turn it on now. And they need to be ready to fight, because your leader is ready to fight in Trace Jackson Davis. He is out there playing injured, playing hurt, playing 40 minutes, and giving it his all. Now, everyone else, you need to step up, clip up to that next level of intensity, that next level right in the face of your defender, and do things the way we know this team can. And if we can get those strung together, we can get a little confidence back, and we can right this ship a lot more. So, yeah, I'm excited for this team to find that. I'm going to stay optimistic for it. Indiana's got a tough one, though, coming up. IU plays on Wednesday at Penn State, 7 p.m. It's on BTN. Penn State's a tough team, a physical team. Their coach, if you haven't watched on Twitter, made the headlines last night. He fights for his team. They had got a heck of a coach there. If you haven't seen that on Twitter, go and watch that. In that he talks about a technical foul that he got called on because of the refereeing. And look, I could go on a rant for hours about that, because that's been a struggle for this team, but that's evened out for everyone. But the Big Ten has to be better with their reffing. And these refs have to figure things out, because the way this game was called, was pretty crazy as well. First half, Northwestern was very physical with IU, and not many fouls were called, as comparison with the Iowa game where you just touched Iowa with two hands and a foul was called. Whereas Northwestern was able to be very physical and handsy on defense, and nothing was called. And then the about face and whatever meeting the refs had with each other at halftime, where we got all those fouls in the first 6 to 8 minutes. Both teams were in the bonus, as compared to, I think, not even being in the bonus in the first half. And some odd calls. Aldige had that weird reverse layup where no one touched him. And then on defense, there was the Northwestern player that went for a rebound and went flying, and they called a push on Tamar, which the replay showed the only reason the Northwestern player went flying was because he ran in too fast and couldn't stop. So Big Ten, it has to be better. We have to be better with that because it's just a mess. And I think in a lot of these situations, I don't know if these refs are getting overworked, jumping around as they go, and it's only going to get worse as we're into the Big Ten season right now. But they're telegraphing calls. They're calling fouls because they see the movements of guys without seeing what happened right before it. I think that's the how you explain away the Tamar situation. The Northwestern guy went flying, so that must have been a foul on the Indiana guy. At least that Jordan Geronimo didn't get 3-4 technicals like he probably should have for passing the ball to the ref, or any of the other Indiana guys did. It's just weird. It's just a joke, and it's become such a repeated thing every year. It has to be better. It has to be better for this league moving forward, and it has to be better for us just as Big Ten teams overall to be able to compete a lot better once we get into March. And I don't know. That's all I'm going to say about that, because we can argue about that for forever, and it's going to be a problem that's going to persist. And I don't know how we get beyond that. I'm happy to see that the coaches are at least firing back a little bit and bringing attention to themselves. They make plenty of money that they can argue and complain and get a little fine here and there if that brings attention on the national side and a response. So thank you to the Penn State coach for speaking up like he did. And I won't be saying thank you after this because we play them next. But so, yeah, just to kind of sum up this game and finish it off for me, if my expression there and exhale didn't say it all, it is frustrating. It is aggravating. But again, and if you hate my cheeriness or my optimism, I'm sorry, but I'm going to stay optimistic with this team and what they can do and who they can be, because the weapons and the people are there and the players are there, despite the injuries that we have. And the injuries, all saying, are possibly not as bad as we can. That's something I didn't really mention too. Those of you that tuned in, some of the first videos that we saw was Race Thompson out there in just sweatpants, no big brace, no crutches, thank goodness. So whatever his lower leg injury is, and I've tried to find out, I've worked some of my sources, I haven't found out anything. Indiana always keeps that close to the chest, as you guys know. But it's at least good to see him out there walking without those things. And hopefully it is something that we get him back in 2, 3, 4 weeks max. He gets rehabbed. It's whether it be just a slight strain, a bone bruise, whatever it be that happened to him. It at least feels a lot better when I tuned into this game and saw him walking around on the sidelines, as compared to the emotional mess that he was on a heap on the floor after his injury. So I take solace in that he will be back. I take hope that Xavier Johnson will be back eventually for this team. and that things can come together for this team, that we can get things righted, win the games that we need to win, steal a few here and there, get in the tournament, and battle. That's all I ask. Let's battle, guys. Let's get out there. Let's put our big boy pants on and let's just get at it. Let's stay aggressive. I want to see some guys so aggressive on defense that maybe we foul out some guys in this next game coming up. I wouldn't hate to see that. So, yeah. That's going to do it, guys, on this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Thank you guys for being there in the chat. A very, very discussional chat. Good to see you guys going back and forth about how things are and what this team is. And you can always tune in if you're listening on the podcast to YouTube, the YouTube channel. Just search Hoosier Morning After. There you can be a part of the live chat with the guys as they discuss things. Thank you for those listening on the podcast. Thank you again for those guys live. Follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. There you can find out more information about the show, when we're going to go live. Martha will be back with me after Martha gets finished with these road trips and everything. We'll be back again on Thursday morning. Thanks for being with me, guys. Until then, go out there, have a wonderful day. And as always, let's go Hoosiers.